So today we continue with our class Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we continue with our Sefer Chofetz Chaim, and our big topic is the same to Eretz personal information. And today's topic, improper behavior. A lawyer may not assist a client in committing an injustice. A lawyer may not represent the client in a lawsuit to obtain payment for which the client admits is not due him. This lawyer may not present the medical bills which the client has informed him are fictitious. A lawyer too should seek the guidance of halakhic authority so that he will conduct his practice in a strict adherence to the Torah law. Similarly, a therapist may not assist a client living an immoral lifestyle. Jewish therapists must be guided in their work by qualified Rabbanim who are well versed in relevant areas of halacha. So it's very interesting. It's not so easy to be a lawyer or to be a therapist when on one hand you have to protect the the information of your client. On the other hand, you cannot lie. So I'm not sure. It's not such an easy thing, right? And to be a criminal lawyer, it's never allowed. It's never allowed because why? Because you're going against the Torah law. Always. I think same in this this accident lawyer, injury, no fault insurance. It's not all of them are not kosher. Okay, one more, some more, some less, but okay, we'll stop here. So continue. So today we continue with Kitzur, and our topic was very interesting. The law. So it's Siman number 42, and the topic is law of the proper conduct for a meal. Okay, so we start with CF 22, and it says the law regarding one who recites one of the daily prayers during a meal is that when he returns to the meal to eat, he need not recite the Hamotzi blessing again. Okay. Try to understand. So one more time. The law regarding one who recites one of the daily prayers during the meal. Okay. I apologize. So it's one of the exceptions. So last time we left off what is considered to be interruptions of the bread meal, right? And what is not considered to be interruptions of the bread meal. So when so we started in this year, almost forgot. That, for example, they started the meal, Silda, and then they said let's do mincha, let's pray mincha now, right? Of course, it's mincha tam. Everybody here because before we say lechaim, let's pray mincha. Okay, that's what they pray. Let's say they went to another, even in another building in a shul, but there is no problem whatsoever, right? And when they come back again, they do not need to recite Hamotzi blessing on the bread. They just continue it. It's one of the exceptions that they left to do a mitzvah. Likewise, if one took a nap during the meal, right? Very interesting. Even if it is lasted for some time, it is not considered interruption with regard to Hamotzi blessing. So let's try to understand what it says from the beginning of this commentary. So, likewise, if one took a nap during the meal, 57. That is, he did not go to bed for a regular sleeping session. Rather, he simply fell asleep at the table. See Mishnah Berurah 78:48. Okay, so maybe he would need. We would require him to wash his hands if they touched the places that usually covered, but Hamotzi, we don't require him to repeat, right? So one more time the whole sentence. Likewise is if one took nap during the meal, even if it lasted some time. 58. Even if he slept in a manner for about an hour. Very interesting. Mishnah Brura 178:48. Right? So even he slept, it's a very good nap, I would say, right? Even 1 hour. It is not considered interruption with regard to the Hamotzi blessing. It is likewise not considered interruption if he interrupted the meal to attend any other non-mandatory matter. Okay. For example, he attended his bodily needs or the like. 59 commentary. There is any interruption that is not set by rabbinic law to be performed at the time of the meal. Prayer, although required to be done by a certain time, is not a set part of the meal, and therefore does not constitute interruption with regard to the blessing. So, very interesting explanation. So, everything that is technically optional, they not considered to be interruptions. So, our example, as we say here, they went to pray mincha. They could have prayed maybe, if time allows, let's say, they could have prayed mincha earlier or later. Right? There is no problem. Or what else? Or he went to use the facilities. Also, it's not that there is no obligation. I mean, technically. Okay. So by the needs and the like. Nevertheless, in all these cases, a new nitalas yadayim is necessary. Okay. Because during these activities, he diverted his attention from the cleanliness of the hands, unless he specifically washed his hands to make sure that they did not touch anything unclean. So let's try to understand. So he took a nap, right? Or as we said, he went praying. Maybe it's a prayer or like in this room or not too far, and he did not touch, although he was like paying attention not to touch all of the covered places. Yeah, there is no problem. Okay. 1 second. But otherwise, if he slept, for sure, he needs to wash his hands, because for sure he did not, especially when he slept, especially 1 hour. Of course, he did not pay any attention to his hands, right? And of course, after the restroom, right? So he touched for sure like all of the places that are usually covered, right? So we require him to wash his hands and say Al Nitlas Yadayim. Okay. Unless we said he specifically washed his hands to make sure that they did not touch anything unclean. Number 16. One who attends his bodily needs must wash Nitlas Yadayim in any case. Okay, so that's so after the restroom is not an option, right? So he said, no, I didn't touch myself. Okay, because of the impurity. So technically he has to, as we learned before, so he has to wash his hands after the restroom, and he has to wash for Nitlas Yadayim. So there are a few solutions that are offered, but the practical one, I think, is to wash and do not say. So there are two practical ones. Say Asher Yotzer after the what is it? After he said Al Nitlas Yadayim. That's it. You understand? Even though it says it is delay, but it's technical delay. It's not like you have a choice. Okay. So continue. However, although he must wash, he does not recite the blessing Al Nitlas Yadayim upon this washing, for we do not. I skipped something. Sorry. No. However, although he must wash, he does not recite the blessing Al Nitilas Yadayim upon this washing. Okay, we're going to check. For we do not recite the blessing upon washing that is necessitated by the diverting attention from the cleanliness of the hands. Okay, so first we said that he must wash Nitilas Yadayim. That's one thing. So now we say, so the question is if he, and we're going to see the commentary, because that's not, the final halach, I think it's a little different, but we're going to check. The question is whether or not he is obligated to say the blessing upon the washing. Washing for sure, blessing is questionable. So let's see one more time as commentaries. However, although he must wash, he does not recite the blessing Al Nitilas Yadayim upon this washing. 61. Okay. Continue. For we do not recite the blessing upon washing. That is necessitated by diverting attention from the cleanliness of the hands. Commentary. According to Biur Halacha, one who left during the meal for extended amount of time and diverted his attention from cleanliness of the hands must wash Nitilas Yadayim again, returning to his meal and recite the blessing. Okay, that's what we actually follow. So he does say the blessing. But they send us to see above CF 40, 16 with not 69. So let's check what we said there. 40, 16. 40, 16. 40, 16. In verse commentary 16. So let me quickly read what we said before. So we said there. So topic was the lost washing of the hands for a meal. One who during the meal touches his body in a place that is usually covered, or scratches his head, or urinates, must wash his hands for Nitilas Yadayim second time. Okay, but he should not recite the blessing upon this washing. Likewise, even if he relieved himself or defecated, and therefore washed his hands during the meal, he should not recite the blessing of Al Nitilas Yadayim upon this washing. Okay, so Kitzur very clear about it. So he must wash the hands, but no blessing. Commentary. According to Mishnah Berurah 164:13, one who defecates or actually soils his hands in a manner that would require Nitilas Yadayim, right? See, during the meal must recite the blessing upon the washing and Nitilas Yadayim second time. Okay. When washing in these circumstances, one needs wash only once. The first recital of he first recited Nitilas Yadayim, then Asher Yotzer. Okay. See below obligation Nitilas Yadayim for one who divert his attention. So they send now to our place when he from the meal when he wishes to continue. So let's try to understand. So here they said, I mean, they're very connected to Sefim, to halachas, right? He said when he touches during the meal. In our case, we said when he left and did some activities. In this Ziv that we just read, so he actually was in place, right? He touched the places that usually covered, or he went to use the facilities. So okay, so Mishnah Berurah, Kitzur said don't say blessing, but Mishnah Berurah, and that's what we actually follow, he says that if you went to the bathroom number 2, right, so then you have to wash and say Nitilas Yadayim. And in this case, Mishnah Berurah said that one time is enough. So one time of the washing is enough. So one on the right hand and one on the left hand. As we said, for washing of the bread, for the bread, technically one time is enough. on the one hand and another hand, right? But of course, we said we actually do 2 times, right? Because I'm not going to go back why, but we say 2 times. But in this case, since it's just continuation of the meal, so 1 time is enough, and then you continue washing, and it's actually for purification after the bathroom, and then you say nitalas yadayim, after he went to the restroom, and then you say asher yotzer. There is no problem. There is in this case it's simple because he's not obligated to say hamotzi, so that there is no interruption. Okay, so that's it's good that we just refresh what we said before. Any questions on what we said? Okay, no problem. So then we continue. Just one second. Okay, so the last thing we said. So if it was he was missing from the meal for an extended period of time. Mishnah Brura says wash again. That's according to all Shulchan Aruch also, but he said also say the blessing. Okay, continue. Number 23. From time when one has concluded his meal and decided to recite Birchas Hamazon, if he wishes to eat and drink again, there are many detailed halachas that pertain to this situation with regard to requirements of reciting the blessing and on which he will eat or drink. Okay, so commentary says, Shulchan Aruch 179:1-3. In such a situation, he may also require to wash nitalas yadayim again. One should therefore refrain from entering into this situation. Rather, as soon as he decided to recite Birchas Hamazon, he should recite Birchas Hamazon. So what is the problem here? So what situation we're talking about here? So he decided, or she decided, that's it. I'm going to stop eating, and I'm going to say Birchas Hamazon, but not right now, not exactly at the same moment. A little later, maybe somebody else is coming back. This and that, whatever. I'm expecting very important call, and after they call me, so I don't want to be nervous during the Birchas Hamazon. I don't want okay. I wanted to have peace of mind, concentration, no problem. So this person waits, and somebody who was supposed to call him call only like 20 minutes later, and now this person is thirsty. So the question is he allowed to drink? Right? So technically he did not say Birchas Hamazon, yes, on one hand. On the other hand, he already said in his mind, and maybe even out loud, which does not make any difference, that he finished eating. So, okay. So according to halacha, he must say another blessing for this drink, right? And if he decided, okay, you know what, let's eat more, right? So if he wants to eat bread, he has to go back again and wash his hands, say Al Nitalas Yadayim, and say Hamotzi again on this blessing, on this bread, even though he did not leave the table. So Kitzur Shulchan Aruch said, don't enter this area. As soon as you decided I'm going to stop eating, okay, say Birchas Hamazon right away, and you're never going to get into this questionable situation, right? Because that drink, whatever he did, apple juice, whatever, coffee he drank, let's say enough coffee to say the after blessing. So that coffee is not going to cover by Birchas Hamazon. It's a totally the separate eating session. Understand? You have to say separate after blessing. So Kitzur says, don't put yourself in that situation. Okay. So continue. So we finish that sif, very interesting. So next one is even more interesting. Siman 43, the loss of the blessing for foods that one eats or drinks during the meal. Okay, so CF number 1. Any food eaten during the meal, if the items that ordinarily eaten during the meal for the purpose of satisfying one's hunger, such as meat, fish, types of condiments, cereal, or different types of pancakes, even if they are items that are not necessarily eaten together with bread, they are all not required their own blessing, neither prior to eating them, bracha rishana, the first blessing, nor after the eating them, bracha achrana, final blessing. Okay. Okay, so let's stop here. And let's do again this commentary. Right. So, this CF is going to explain us what is covered by the bread meal. So we said our blessing hamotzi, and we need to know what is covered. And of course, you have to in mind eat kibeitza. As we said, Mishnah Berurah said kibeitza. Kibeitza, it's 2 ounces, right? 2 ounces. So approximately, what is it? A little less than 2 ounces, 56 grams, right? 50 grams. Okay. Only then the whole meal is covered. If you eat only kizayis, after kizayis, it's you have to say birchas hamazon. There is no doubt about it. But other foods are not covered. So you would need to say the separate blessings. Okay. Even if you eat bread. So one more time. Any foods they eat during the meal commentary. With regard to this halacha, a meal referred to meal that began with bread. Okay, so that's very useful clarification. Only the meal is with bread. Other eating session, I would say, even though for us it's meal, even without, we will call it meal in English, but halachically it's like a snack or something. Okay, continue. Actually, from the beginning, any food eaten during the meal, if the items that are ordinarily eaten during the meal for the purpose of satisfying one's hunger. And this phrase, satisfying one's hunger, is actually key phrase, right? As we're going to see what is not covered by this blessing. For whatever person eats for not satisfying one's hunger, but because he wants something sweet, let's say, or sour, whatever people like, right? So it's like a dessert. It's not, usually people eat dessert not for satisfying one's hunger, but because they crave for something like, I don't know, sweet, let's say. Okay. And it's very important. So on all of these things that once eats not for satisfying one's hunger, he would need to say separate blessing, right? Except what? Such as meat and fish, of course. So meat and fish are always included in bread, types of condiments, cereal, or different types of pancakes. So let's see. Other examples include eggs, cooked vegetables, and cheese. See Shulchan Aruch 177.1. Sharei Teshuvah, etc. Okay, no problem. So this Sharei Teshuvah, there is two works as Sharei Teshuvah. One is the halachic and one is the shkafic. So 2 separate things. Okay, Sharei Teshuvah. So pancakes, of course, pancakes. It's also for satisfying one's hunger, even if they are items that are not necessarily eaten together with bread. So it does not make any difference. Now I'm eating with bread, so that's part of my bread meal, right? They all do not require their own blessing, neither the prior eating them, bracha rishana, the first blessing, nor after eating them, bracha achrana, final blessing. So all of this covered by the blessing on the bread, and the final blessing we do not say. And even if we say For example, with fruits, right? Fruits usually not eaten for satiation, so satisfying, right? So satisfaction, but and satiation. Usually people eat fruits as a dessert at the end. So even though they required a special like bracha rishona, the first one, at the end when we say birchas hamazon, it's actually covered everything. So it's in contrast what we said in the previous halacha, right? The last halacha from the previous Siman. So we said that if person already decided stop eating and drank something or ate something, it's totally different eating session. In this case, even though it's not eaten for satisfying one's hunger, okay, we agree, right? We agree. There is no doubt about it. This cake or a piece of cake or grapes, whatever we eat like at the end of the meal, but they still part of the meal, right? So the Birchas Hamazon would cover that. The reason for this is since these foods are eaten to satisfy hunger, they consider part of the meal. And anything that is considered part of the meal is not viewed independently. For the entire meal, it is considered subordinate to bread, with which the meal begins. Okay, so all of the foods subordinate to bread. So and then the blessing on the bread is going to cover everything. As we said before, when we have a primary and secondary food, we say only one blessing on the primary, and then you say after blessing on the primary, and it covers the secondary. And then not secondary, subordinate. Subordinate is a better word. Okay. So one more time the last sentence. So the entire meal is considered subordinate to the bread, with which the meal begins, since the bread is the primary source of sustenance. Okay. Okay, so let's read the commentary. Let's see. There's continuation. Okay, commentary. Any questions on what we said? Go ahead, yes.
So if we are eating some eggs with cheese, and later on decided to enhance this meal with a piece of bread, a small piece of bread, but already we have said shehakol. What happens? What needs to be done?
Okay, so let me try to understand. You eating eggs with cheese, let's say, and then you decide to eat bread. That's the situation.
Yes, because it was not very.
It was not enough. Yeah, no, it's a very good question. It's very, very, very possible scenario, right? So you would say that the proper blessing on the eggs and cheese, of course, before you start eating. You say shehakol, and then you decide, you know what, I'm still hungry, so let me eat piece of bread, because I'm almost done with my meal and I'm still hungry. So you go wash for bread, you say blessing on the bread, but this bread does not cover anything. I mean, if you with bread you bring some other things to eat, yeah, they're going to be like separate meal that you that now like connected to bread. But these eggs and cheese that you ate before, you would need to say separate blessing, separate after blessing on them. So because two separate meals, even though you continue eating these eggs with cheese, right? There is like I would say two parallel meals, if you can say it. You understand? But everything what you're going to eat after bread, so it's part of the bread meal.
So it would be two Birkat Hamazon and
no,
after blessing of the shehakol.
Yes. So exactly. So first you say that the blessing on this after eating eggs and cheese, you say one blessing, and then you say Birchas Hamazon, yeah, after eating bread. Those milk have no connection to each other. So if he would start, as we said, if he would start with the bread meal, yeah, everything is covered. But in this case, no. two separate meals. Go ahead, yes.
Last question about this. And what if the bread we eat is small pieces and it's not it's questionable if it is kavite?
Oh, it does not make any difference. I mean, we say the bless. I mean, okay, no, it does make a difference. I apologize. So when I said it does not make any difference, I meant we say the bracha rishona, the first blessing on any amount. So I eat the minute piece of whatever, right? So I would still require to say the blessing. So in this case, if it's less than kizayis, so we wash our hands. So we always have to wash for bread, but without the blessing. We never say blessing if it's such a small piece. And then I would say I mean, I go by the opinion that even it's less than kibeitza. If I'm planning to eat less than kibeitza, like 2 ounces, we don't say the blessing. You understand? So on 1 kizayis, if I would eat, I mean, it's a tiny piece, I would not say the blessing. And of course, it does not cover anything, as we said before. So, but it covers bread. Go ahead.
So that's the point. The bracha rishona, because it's always in my mind if I am going to say a bracha in vain. So I am very careful about that. So here we have in this scenario, we have Shechako blessing that was said already, and later on we have a blessing on bread. So we are reciting 2 times the name of HaShem, and maybe that would be a sin.
No, there is no problem whatsoever. As we said, those 2 separate meal sessions, so there is no problem. And first blessing, even if you take like small candy for your breath, whatever, that tiny candy, still I need to make this blessing if it has a good taste, of course. Okay, same on the medicine. So somebody just recently asked me about the medicine. So if it's medicine like cough medicine or something like have a pleasant taste, I don't know, whatever cherry or whatever this taste is, so yeah, you would say the blessing. Or if it does not like bitter or something, of course you don't say the blessing because your palate does not derive any benefit. Understand? Any pleasure. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, no problem. So we continue. So we left off on a commentary. So it says, this rule applies. So which what rule were we talking about? The rule that all of the other dishes they're subordinate to the bread. So that's why bread covers all of these things. Okay, so it says that this rule applies only if one eats kizayis of bread within the time span of achilas pras. Kizayis of bread within the time span of achilas pras. Literally the amount of the time takes to eat a half loaf of bread. Referring to the standard loaf of times of the Mishnah, this time span range from 2 to 9 minutes according to the various authorities, and also varies into different situations. According to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zatzal, in Igras Moshe or Chaim, 4 in paragraph 41, one must eat kizayis within 3 minutes in order to exempt the requirement to recite the blessing upon other foods of the meal. Okay. So there is a second requirement. Of course, in order for this, for all of these foods to be covered, right? For all of these foods to be covered, you need to eat minimum requirement amount So during the specific time period, as we learned in another class. So what is this specific time period? Period is 2 to 9 minutes. So we said properly do it in 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, that's the most acceptable time span. 9 is already pushed, even though there is such opinion. There is such opinion that we can rely in case of the need, but technically when you start your meal, so as we said before, try to eat this kizayas or kibeitza. I prefer kibeitza in these 3 minutes, and that's it, and you're done, right? But at least kizayas. So why? Because there is such an opinion of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein Zatzal, who said that he must eat at least kizayas, right? Kizayas is 1 ounce, 28 grams approximately, right? In 3 minutes. Why? In order that other foods be covered. If he did not eat this amount, minimum of this amount in 3 minutes, or let's say even in 9 minutes, so all other foods are not covered. So you have to say that separate blessing on them. That's the big issue, of course. I mean, so we always try not to put ourselves in this questionable situation. So you say the blessing on chamotzi, and try to eat right away this bread. Okay, all of these salads, all of the fish and chicken, they're not going anywhere. They're going to wait for you until you finish your bread. They're going to stay there. Okay, that's a proper thing to do. Otherwise, if a person that just eating small pieces of bread, that's he could be put himself in a very bad situation. If during the meal one does not eat kizayas within that time span, the blessings are required before and after for all other foods consumed during the meal. This can have practical consequences when one is eating a large meal, but receive only a small portion of the bread or challah. Therefore, one must make up his mind before the meal that he will eat kizayas of bread, and be sure to do so within this time span of achilas pras, in order to exempt all of the foods consumed during the meal from the individual blessings. Okay, so let's try to understand. So as we said, if he does not eat at least the kizayas, we go by kibeitza, but let's say there is a strong opinion that he can be relied at kizayas, right? Okay, so I mean a strong opinion that you can rely upon, right? So, and here's the situation when the host gives everybody a piece of bread, but this piece of bread is too small, right? It's less than kizayas. That's the issue. I mean, as we learn, or I'm not sure did we learn or did not learn, but Mishnah Berurah says clearly, Shulchan Aruch says clearly, you have to cut the bread, right? Let's say you have only like 5, 6 people, 10 people around the table. So you cut the bread in a manner that every person would get a kizayas if you distribute to them, or give them a different bread. Okay, give them a piece of bread. Let's say you don't have enough, have a big gathering. There is no problem. So give them small, even small than kizayas, but give them other breads to eat. Right? There is no problem. Just make sure that, and they must make sure that they eat this minimum kazayas, preferable kibeitza, meaning to kizaysim. Okay. In what? In this 3 minutes, but up to 9 minutes. But properly, as you said, 2 to 3 minutes. That's according to all of the opinions. So, but we say if he during the meal he did not eat this kizayas, and or even if he had, right, and in this period of time, so now he has to say the blessing before and after for all of the different foods whatever required, like he never ate bread, let's say, right? And in this case, let's say if he only received a small piece, the less than kizayis, or he ate kizayis, let's say, but in more than period of 9 minutes. So in this case, there is no birchas hamazon at all, right? So he would say only the blessings on other foods. Okay, so I mean, just plan if you're a guest somewhere. Usually people give you more than kizayis, but if not, for whatever reason, they did not see, they forgot you, whatever reason, so you can always go and get yourself a bigger piece of bread. Okay, so one last sentence says, therefore, one must make up his mind before the meal that he will eat a kizayis of bread, and be sure to do so within the time span of achilas pras, meaning this 2 to 3 minutes, in order to exempt all of the foods consumed during the meal from individual blessing. See Igras Moshe. Okay, so otherwise, like let's say he just realized that he did not eat enough of the bread in these 2 to 3 minutes, up to 9 minutes, as we said, and he already eaten other foods, and those other foods he eats without the blessing, which is a big problem. As we said in the other class, it's like stealing from HaShem. So before making a blessing, it's stealing from HaShem 100%. One who eats only amount of bread, one who eats any amount of bread must wash nitalas yadayim and recite hamotzi on bread. Okay, so they say C41 with regard to the amount of bread that requires al nitalas yadayim. Okay, I think he also goes by kizayis, but let me quickly check. 41 note 8. 41 note 8. 41. The food smaller than the size of an egg is not susceptible to tumah by biblical law. And what is the connection? Okay, so let's quickly read it just to remind ourselves. So it's CF number 1, 41. One who wishes to eat bread, which appropriate blessing hamotzi, must first wash his hands. If the bread that he will be eaten is at least large as the volume of egg, right? As we said, kibbutz a double 2 ounces. He must recite the blessing upon washing. That's what we follow. We follow this opinion, right? If it is smaller than this size, one must still wash, but he does not recite the blessing upon washing. Okay, so that's what we said everything correctly. But let me see what he means in this. The food smaller than the size of an egg is not susceptible to tumah by biblical law. See Mishnah Berurah 158:9. So tumah is impurity. See introductions. Okay. Mishnah Berurah writes that with regard to the halacha, the volume of egg is measured without shell. Okay, so according to, and they say the definition, the measurement of Chazon Ish, one should not recite the blessing unless it's eaten the bread of the volume of 90 cc, 3 ounces. So Chazon Ish always he's a little stricter. I mean, his opinion stricter, which he requires 3 ounces, right? And we actually say we go by 2 ounces. According to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, although it is better to eat a piece of bread the size of an egg in order to avoid halakhic doubts as to whether one is required to recite blessing or not, nevertheless, one eats only a kizayis of bread, according to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, approximately 1 fluid ounce. That's what we go by. he is still required to recite the blessing al nitilas yadayim. Initially, one should wash nitilas yadayim even if he is eating less than kizayis. In that case, all agree that the blessing is not recited. So let us try to understand. So if person eats less than kizayis, for sure, that's his plan. It's not like, okay, his plan less than kizayis, he's washing for bread, she's washing for bread, no blessing. Okay. If the person is planning to eat kizayis or more, but less than 2 kizayis, so he can rely on opinion of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, that's all, and say the blessing. So we actually trying to go by Mishnah Brura, who said 2 kizayis, meaning what is it? The volume of egg, right? So, and if we eat, and if we planning to eat less than volume of egg, so we don't say that the blessing of nitilas yadayim. So that's very simple. But you washing your hands anyway. Any questions on what we said? I hope I did not confuse you, but okay. So 1 second. So continue. It's actually the same Sefer. Therefore, all these foods are exempt from bracha rishana by the hamotzi blessing that is recited prior to eating the bread. Okay, as we said before, and they exempt from bracha achrana by birchas hamazon, grace after meal, recited in conclusion of the meal. So meaning the bread covers, right? Meaning number 5. What is it? See above 41.1. However, foods that are not usually eaten as a part of the meal to satisfy hunger are not subordinate to the bread. The brachas for these foods are set out in Seifim 3 through 7. So we're going to Seif number 1. So meaning that foods that person is not eating for satisfaction. So it's actually he say the separate blessing, but we say even though he does, so birchas hamazon always covers. Okay. So the laws of birchas hamazon, it's actually next chapter. Okay, we're going to get to it. Okay, continue. Even in the case that after he began his meal, food was sent to him from other houses, he need not recite separate blessing upon them, because the unspecified intention of a person when recite the blessing beginning of the meal is that the blessing is to encompass whatever foods they bring him in the course of the meal. Okay, that's so whatever we're going to eat is going to be covered, and sometimes it's possible, as we just answer on that situation. It's possible. So you start eating one thing, and you thought that it should be enough, but then you decided that you're still hungry, and you go and get something else. So it's not uncommon, right? So, but all of these things are usually covered by birchas hamazon, because it was our intention to have a meal and be satiated. Commentary. A blessing can only exempt food that the person intends to eat at the time of the blessing. Here we learn that that's like separate foods. Here we learn that since it is not uncommon for one to decide to receive food from a friend or a neighbor during his meal, he considered it as he specifically intended to eat anything that may be brought to him throughout his meal. See Levush 177.3. So I would say maybe where I live, people don't send the food to neighbors, like okay, but I would say maybe like even from your refrigerator, or some extra food. Right? I think it's a very practical example. Okay, so let's check it out. fine. It's very long sieve. Okay, but let's do it. So sieve number 2 says likewise, one need not recite separate blessing on any type of beverage he drinks during the meal, for the beverages also consider part of the meal, as it is uncommon to eat without drinking. So that's a very, very, very straightforward idea. So people usually, some people drink more, some people drink less, but all of the beverages are included, except of course wine, right? The exception of this rule is wine. For wine is specifically significant, as evidenced by the fact that many instances one required to recite the blessing over the wine, even when he has no need to drink at that time. For example, obligation of Kiddush on Shabbos or Havdalah at the conclusion on the Shabbos over the wine. Therefore, one must recite blessing upon drinking wine even during the meal. Okay, so it's very straightforward. So, wine person drinks sometimes when he is thirsty, let's say. I mean, I don't know, but many times we drink wine as a part of our as a mitzvah, like as a kiddush, or during the kiddushin, when during the marriage, during the circumcision, and all other cases. So people do not drink because they're thirsty; they drink because it is part of the mitzvah. So commentary, because of its significance, it is not deemed subordinate to the bread and required for its own blessing. Okay, so all of the beverages covered, except wine, for wine. However, if one recite the blessing for drinking wine before washing the hands for the meal, however, if one recite the blessing drinking wine before the washing his hands for the meal, okay. I mean, and when, okay, somehow they put period there, but it's not the end of the sentence. And when he recite the blessing, he's intent to drink wine during the meal as well, or even if one did not specifically intend to drink wine during the meal, but he's accustomed to drinking wine in the course of the meal, he need not recite the second blessing upon the wine he drinks during the meal, for it is exempt from the Bracha Rishana by the blessing recited upon the wine before the meal. See above 39.2. Okay, so we spoke about it some time ago already, but let's try to remind us what we said then and connect to what we say now. So we say if a person drink wine close to the washing of the hands for the meal. Commentary. This is there is in close proximity to the meal. This halacha is also applicable when one recites kiddush on wine before Shabbos or Yom Tov. Okay. So even though the person says the blessing on a cup that he has right now, but he has it in mind, or as we said, that's what he usually does, drinks wine during the meal. So all of the wine is also covered, not only whatever he drinks for a mitzvah or kiddush, but all other wines. He can have a specific intention. If it was on a table, it is covered automatically, but specific intention, of course, it's always preferable. Okay, so all of the wine is covered. Right, and it says covered mean what covered? For it is exempt from bracha rishona, so first blessing, by the blessing recited upon the wine before the meal. So, but it's actually connected to the meal itself. So number 10. Commentary, the blessing exempt that which he plans to eat or drink when he recites the blessing. In this case, if it is a custom to drink wine during the meal, it is considered as he had planned to drink the wine at the time that he recited the blessing before the meal. So it's very interesting. It's actually not only in this case, but in all other cases, if that's what you usually do, right? You don't have to have a special intention to do that. It's like if it's your habit, it's like that's what you plan to begin with. Okay, so continue. And they say, see above 39:2, and they say regarding the requirement of bracha achrana after wine that one drinks before the meal. Okay, so if it's we said if it's connected to the meal, so it's actually covered. So if it's very, very close to the meal. Okay, so continue. Regarding liquor, as it is served in our country. Okay, the Kitzur was written in Hungary. Okay, liquor that it was served in our country, where it is not a standard practice to always drink it during the meal, as it is with the beverages in general, so other like like water or tea or something. It is a case of halachic doubt as to whether it is considered a part of the meal or not, and consequently whether it is required its own bracha rishona when served during the meal. So let's see. So here's the thing. So this liquor, for sure, it's not for satiation, and it's not usually part of the meal. I mean, for some people, maybe they drink like maybe, right? But I think most of the people do not drink, especially hard liquor during the meal, I think. So let's see commentary. Where is the other beverage which served to aid eating or satisfying thirst brought on by eating are always considered to be part of the meal. Liquor is not always served for this purpose. So one more time, beverage aid eating or to satisfy thirst. So that they included. Always considered part of the meal. Liquor is not always served for this purpose. It is therefore unclear whether it can be included in bracha governing other beverages. Since, as explained in the beginning of this Sefer, is based upon the fact that generally drinks while eating the meal. So the other side, if I remember correctly, so they say no, actually this hard liquor is good for appetite, right? So it's very strong. So now a person said eats more. Okay, that's the second view, right? So it's questionable. Therefore, to avoid the situation, if one is planning to drink liquor during the meal, he should drink little before he washes his hands for the meal. He should drink in a place where he will be eating the meal. Okay. He should drink less than kizayis, right? Kizayis, okay. And recite bracha rishana, the rishachakal, upon it beforehand. So Kitzur says, okay, so say during the meal, it's questionable, but he said, you know what, if he would drink a little, less than, I'm not sure why he's saying kizayis. Kizayis is very strict opinion. So you say, how do we measure liquids? The most stricter opinion is kizayis, which is like 1 ounce, right? But the more lenient opinion, and that's I think the more preferable one is for liquids is revi'is. Right, so revi'is is approximately like 3 ounces, 3.1 ounces, or something like minimum, or up to 5.2. Okay, but Kitzur said, let's say, like even by the most stricter opinion, he would not need to say the blessing after the drinking liquor. Okay, so let him drink less than kizayis. Right, and recite bracha achrana, shechakal upon it beforehand. And he should have in mind that the blessing should be exempt, should exempt the obligation to recite the blessing upon the liquor that he will drink during the meal as well. So it's, of course, I think it's perfect solution, right? So he drinks a little before the meal with intention that he's going, whatever he's going to drink during the meal should be covered. Whatever he drank during the meal is going to be covered by Birchas Hamazon for sure, right, on one hand. On another hand, it's not required the bracha achrana, bracha rishona, because he already said before the meal. And for whatever he drank before the meal is not enough to say the after blessing. So it's actually a perfect solution. If he did not do this, he is now in the middle of the meal and wishes to drink liquor. He should first recite bracha rishona on some sugar, having in mind that the blessing should be exempt liquor as well. Okay, so sugar is that's in all the days like sugar cubes, right? Of course it's not covered. Don't worry, like it's sugar like during the meal. So that's why it requires separate blessing, for sure, right? And for sure you can include in this liquor as well. 16. Sweets that are not eaten to satisfy one's hunger require bracha rishona, even eaten during the meal. So it does not matter when you eat. Okay, and having in mind that include the liquor as well. Commentary: the Mishnah Brura 174:39 points out that the case of the doubt is usually avoided at the Shabbos meal, since the meal is often immediately preceded by Kiddush. So that's as simple. As set out below in 49, so we're going to get to it, 4.5. One who recites the blessing upon wine need not recite the blessing on any other beverages that he consumed afterwards, pursuant of the conditions he set out there. Okay. Thus, if he recite the blessing upon the wine, all beverages that subsequently drank before or during the meal do not require separate blessing. If one recite Kiddush on a beer or the like, upon which the shackle blessing is recited, he certainly exempt the liquor from his own blessing, which is also shechakol during the meal. Okay, so let's try to understand. So we said that wine, not in this class, but a different class, we said that, not different, but in another class. So we said that the wine is like a bread for all of the beverage. You say blessing on the wine, it covers all of the beverages, whatever you're going to drink, right? So they say on Shabbos there is, or Yom Tov, or whatever you do Kiddush before the meal, so it includes all of the beverages, no problem. So all of these liquors are covered. Or if, for example, he's making blessing on a beer, right? He does not have wine on a beer, so beer shechakol, and that one liquor is shechakol. There is no problem whatsoever. So two different solutions. But do not say the blessing on a liquor during the meal, because it's questionable. Some have a practice to dip some bread into liquor, so that to avoid the halachic doubts regarding bracha rishona on the liquor. Very interesting. Commentary say, according to this reasoning, eating the liquor together with bread makes the liquor subordinate to the bread, and it would therefore be exempt from its own bracha rishona. Okay, below Siman 54. For halachas of blessing at a primary and subordinate foods. Okay. So of course, bread is superior to the liquor, and when one dips the bread into liquor, of course, there is no separate blessing. However, there are authorities who have a reservation about the efficacy of this solution. Okay. See Michatzit HaShekel 177.3. So we read the last commentary and we stop. Michatzit HaShekel writes that there are halakhic authorities who maintain that when eating something that is not that has no connection to the meal itself, one must recite bracha rishana, even if he eats with the bread. Okay, so he said, okay, very interesting. See Mishnah Brura 2:12.5. Even according to those who hold that in this case the liquor is indeed considered subordinate, dipping the bread into the liquor would exempt the liquor only if he dips it both at the beginning of his eating and the end. Okay. See Shiar Tziyum. Okay. Regarding beverages that serve at the end of the meal, see next CF. CF7, not next CF7. Okay. So we can stop here. So I would say if you want to drink liquor, so don't make separate blessing, because as we said it is questionable. So, and of course it's not covered unless it was a meal with a kiddush. Or the third solution is just make the blessing something like Shekha called that is usually not covered. Like they say sugar cubes, but you can have some other foods, some piece of candy or something, and cover liquor as well. Okay, I can stop here. Any questions on any topic? Let's go ahead.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, if one was eating pizza and recited grace after meals because we were going to visit someone outdoors, not so far away, but a distant way, is it allowed to say two Birkat Hamazon?
I didn't get the situation. So a person was eating pizza and then what? What happened? He went away? Okay, go ahead.
Because we went outside, so the meal was ended by going outside.
No. What's no. I mean, so you start eating inside and then you went outside. That's the case or no?
Yes. I mean, because later on when we returned, we were not. We discovered that we were not satiated, so decided to grab another portion of pizza. So it would be required 2 grace after meals.
No. In this, okay. Okay, so let me repeat the situation, and then you say if that's what you're asking. So let's say people ate pizza. Let's say one slice. Let's say, right? Then they went outside for whatever. They did not say Birchas Hamazon. Then they decided to say Birchas Hamazon later on. Let's say, right? So they went outside. They came back, and now they want to eat more pizza. So in this case, they would need, as we say, they would need to make a new hamotzi blessing, and unless that's what's the plan, right? To go outside and come back. So they would need to wash again, say hamotzi, but birchas hamazon only one time. So only one time is enough. In this specific situation. Did I get it right in situation, or you meant something else?
Yes, I have another case related to another scenario related to this.
Okay.
What about if we didn't go outside? We already have lunch with this pizza, and later on, we thought that we were satiated, but later on, after reciting Birkat Hamazon, we decided to grab another slice because later on we discovered that we were not satiated. So what would be the procedure here?
No, but you said you already recited Birchas Hamazon after the first meal. So that's a totally separate meal. There is no connection. So even once you decided there is you finished eating, that's when the eating session is finished. You understand? So, but still you can do it under one Birchas Hamazon. You would not say two blessings. Two blessings is too much.
So that's usually that's always my doubt, because two Birkat Hamazon may sound much. Maybe it's a blessing in vain.
Yes. Or if it's as the Kitzur today said. So maybe the proper procedure would be always as soon as you finish eating, you satiate it. You not satiate. I mean, you finish eating, you ate enough of bread or whatever thing you ate, you just say blessing right away. So half an hour later, 15 minutes later, you want to eat again, there is no problem. You say blessing again, and you eat. You say after blessing. So the problem when a person prolongs and he wants to eat again. So I mean, maybe in that case would be proper to say Birchas Hamazon for a previous time, and delay this meal a little, and say and continue, and then wash again, and then say Birchas Hamazon again, because theoretically you can put two of them together theoretically, but if you can separate, so do separately.
So finally, given the importance of Birkat Hamazon, would be the rule to say only one Birkat Hamazon per day?
I mean, no, there is no restriction. If you how many meals you have. So some people have 2 meals with bread. Some people have 3 meals with bread. Whatever you want. Oh, 1 second. Let me send. Sorry. I mean, it's technically it's up to you. Whatever you want. 2-3 meals. That's if bread, or some people have only bread or whatever eats, so that he eats 4 times a day. Some people, like sick people, they cannot eat a lot, so they eat kizais, kibbutz or whatever, 3 times, 4 times a day. So there is no problem. It's not considered to be blessing in vain, because you did it for a food. You say it for a food, or when you're hungry.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, so let's stop here. So until tomorrow, Beverages HaShem. Thank you.